Great. We are recording as well. Awesome. Well, welcome to the Retribalize Academy call. Today we're actually gonna have a guest speaker, Kira, on. We're going to talk regenerative systems and regenerative ecosystems and funding. And this is presentation number 2 from Kira. And yeah, it looks like we have a good showing if we just want to dive into it. Kira, what do you need from me? Or how would you like to kind of get started here?
Yeah, I'm ready. I just sent a share request, so if I can share the correct window, then I can get started.
Cool. Sweet. And how do you want to do this, Kira, with in terms of are you going to present for like 45 minutes and then open up for Q&A at the end? I think hold on, let me make sure I can let you share here. Um Hold on, I actually need to text Brennan because I'm not the host. Um 1 second. I'm
Right.
gonna change my camera too.
So I'm still here. You're set as the co-host, Christian. And then Kara,
Okay,
I give you screen share permissions. So try it now.
All right.
great. Awesome.
Okay. So you guys can see the Canva, correct?
Yep, we can see
All
that.
right. Maybe do present. I don't know. It might be too big for me on my side. Yeah. Okay, that works. Okay,
Awesome.
great. All right, so hello everybody. I'm Marie Nightingale, and I'm going to be presenting a masterclass. This is part 2 of a series that I'm doing on regenerative developments. This one is economic ecosystems, how regenerative developments can create lasting ecological, social, and financial value. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So we're going to be rethinking development here. And it's really what a lot of regenerative developments do, right? So instead of like designing neighborhoods, what if we started designing economic ecosystems? This is because for over a century, most development has followed a similar model. We purchase land, we install infrastructure, we build homes, we sell homes, and we move on to the next project. With this old model of development communities, it becomes a place where people primarily consume resources, energy, water, food, materials, services, and capital, all of which is typically imported from somewhere else. But this is why regenerative development flips that model on its head. It asks the question, what if neighborhoods and districts become economic engines of production rather than engines of consumption?
Mm.
So typically traditional developments optimize for maximum lot yield, maximum short-term revenue, minimum upfront cost, linear infrastructure, and consumption-based economics. Whereas economic ecosystems optimize for long-term reoccurring revenue, circular resource flows, multiple complementary businesses, community resilience, ecological regeneration, knowledge creation, innovation, and human flourishing. So instead of asking how many homes can I build and sell, regenerative developments ask how many systems can create value inside of one community. So that shift changes everything. And so the next slide is the 100 revenue stream challenge for regenerative developments. So once we begin thinking of the community as an economic ecosystem, the next step is to treat it as a portfolio of interconnected systems. So before designing the project, I recommend challenging the team to identify 100 possible value streams. So you will not build all 100, but depending on the project, you may ultimately select 15, 20, or 30. So, but the exercise matters because it forces the team to consider the full range of possibilities, compare them carefully, and identify which systems fit together most effectively. If the team only identifies 10 possibilities, for example, the project may end up only implementing 5. So as each idea is considered, evaluate against 4 objectives. Does it generate that revenue? Does it reduce capital or operating costs? Does it restore ecological function? Does it strengthen community quality of life, resilience, or long-term demand? The strongest opportunities often accomplish several objectives at once while reinforcing the other systems within the development. The goal is not to add business randomly, but it is to identify the combination of systems that creates the strongest, most resilient, and most valuable portfolio for the community. So, yeah, those are the 3 questions. Yeah, there we go. So the design connections that create real value. It is most regenerative developments already understand the systems should be connected. The more important question is whether those connections create value in practice. So connection between systems is valuable only when it creates a clear, measurable exchange. So for every proposed connection, ask those 3 questions. Oh, wait, did I already read that? Oh yeah, okay, here we go. So for example, reclaimed water may appear to connect naturally with agriculture and landscaping, but the connection only becomes meaningful when we confirm how much water is available, when it's available, and whether the quality is appropriate. So what, including, for instance, what storage and distribution will cost and whether there is a committed user. So, for example, in food waste may become compost, biogas, animal feed, etc., in certain permitted applications, or another soil product, but that depends on the reliable feedstock volumes, contamination levels, collection logistics, processing economics, and a real use or consumer for the product, like an end consumer. And we'll get more into things like offtake later in the presentation. So those are some examples, but
So
I
Kira,
want to go more into some examples.
Kira, I think we skipped over the 3 questions specifically.
Did we skip over it?
Yeah, because I think you might have got lost in your it's totally okay because I was reading them and I think you went to the example.
Okay,
Yeah, but these 3
thank you
questions are great.
for letting me.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the questions are, first, what is actually being exchanged? So is it water, energy, waste, material, nutrients, consumers or customers, labor, data, infrastructure, land, heat, or services? Second, who benefits and how? So does the exchange generate revenue, lower an operating cost, reduce risk, improve resilience, strengthen demand, or allow an expensive asset to serve more than one function? And then third, what proves that the connection is real? So we need to understand the quality, the quantity, the timing, pricing, infrastructure, regulatory requirements, and who will actually operate and purchase the output. So that's when I went to the examples of like reclaimed water, food waste. Same goes for solar and battery storage, which may lower, for instance, utility costs and improve resilience, of course, but they may also generate revenue through grid services or capacity payments. But those benefits depend on the load profile, the interconnection rules, the tariffs, the battery cycling assumptions, and the agreements governing who purchases the electricity or the capacity. Sorry, guys, I was like, I have gone through this presentation so many times that that's why I got lost.
Yeah, no,
But anyway,
it was
getting the
great.
flow.
I understood just fine. And this is great. Yeah, thinking in terms of value creation for the community and in an ecosystem. I haven't thought on this like big picture before. So I'm usually in the nitty-gritty. So I'm enjoying this. Let's continue.
Awesome, thank you. So for another examples, a school can create educational value, but it can also become an economic anchor, or what you could also call like a main business anchor, especially if it's one that's already really well established, like a really established brand. So it will attract, in this case, schools will attract families, support housing absorption, create jobs, provide workforce training, and strengthen the identity of the development. But those claims become credible only when there's an operator, a demonstrated enrollment demand, employer participation, or a letter of intent. And we'll get more into different types of agreements that you can sign with different partners. And of course, another really good example, I think, is like a greenhouse. You may supply restaurants and residents, but the economics depend on crop selection, annual yield of that crop, the seasonability of it, labor, energy use, pricing, purchase commitments, and whether the market will consistently absorb the production. And so we're not simply drawing like attractive circular diagrams for investors and for our communities and our teams. We're really identifying exchanges that can be measured, operated, contracted, financed. And this is the difference between conceptual integration and an economically functioning ecosystem. So next is like we're kind of going from builder, like the traditional builder, to an ecosystem orchestrator. So developers really, they don't need to build, own, or operate every system within the community, because I know like all that stuff I just said, it would be really overwhelming, right? If we were to do all of that ourselves. So in fact, trying to do so can create unnecessary capital requirements and operational complexity and risk. But really the developer's role is increasingly to act as an ecosystem orchestrator. So that means deciding which systems are strategically important, identifying the organizations already capable of delivering them, and structuring partnerships that align incentives. So for every system, we need to ask who is already exceptional at delivering this, who already has the technology, the customers, the operating experience, the regulatory knowledge, and the workforce. And what should the developer own directly, and what should be partnered, licensed, leased, or outsourced? How should capital responsibility, risk, and reward be divided? And what measurable value does the relationship create for the developer, the partner, or the community? So that's why it's really important next to move into partnership models. So once the right partner has been identified, the next question is, which partnership model makes the most sense for the particular system? Would it be a joint venture, which might be appropriate when both parties are contributing capital, expertise, assets, technology, or market access? And who will share the ownership, risk, and returns? Will it be revenue sharing, which may work when a partner operates or supports the system and compensation is tied to revenue or another agreed performance measure? Will be a franchise that provides access to proven brand and operating model that can be replicated locally under established standards? Would it be licensing, right, which may be appropriate when the project needs access to technology, intellectual property, curriculum, or a business system without having to develop it all internally? Because, as we know, operating systems and all other sorts of systems are extremely time intensive and big initiatives to take on even within your team. So a management agreement allows the developer to own or control the asset while hiring an experienced operator to manage it. So that's the management agreement. And then a lease or concession may work when a third party operates independently within the development and pays rent, fees, or percentage of revenue. And then finally, a public-private partnership may be appropriate when a public entity and a private partner share responsibilities, resources, risks, or benefits to deliver infrastructure or another public serving system. But the goal is not to use one structure everywhere, is to select the model that best allocates the ownership, the capital, the operating responsibility, the risk, the reward for each system. So this way you're essentially this way you're essentially finding the right partnerships for each area of your ecosystem. But it's also really important, this is why we're going to slide 7, is because it's really important to know the agreements that make the projects financeable as well. So a strong concept and financial model are not usually enough to make a complex development financeable. So before major capital is deployed, developers need evidence that the project can obtain its site, deliver its infrastructure, secure its inputs, attract users, generate revenue, and operate reliably. So these agreements generally provide 4 things: First, they provide demand. This can be demonstrated through letters of intent, reservations, leases, pre-leases, enrollment, commitments, or tenant agreements. Second is revenue. So that would be power purchase agreements. That's a really important one. Water usage agreements, offtake agreements, and long-term service contracts that can turn projected demand into more predictable cash flow. And then third is supply and operations. So a waste energy facility, for example, may require a feedstock supply agreement as well as an experienced operating partner. So that could be a clinic, school, a hotel, a farm, a senior living asset, which may require a management or operating agreement, any of those things. So, and then finally, fourth, the project control and delivery, which lenders and investors may want evidence of site control, utility, interconnection, construction pricing, delivery responsibility, permits, and public sector participation. But the central principle is basically financing becomes easier when demand, supply, operations, revenue, and project control are all documented, not merely projected. So yeah, you want really good technical writers on your team, and you want a really good operations person, and if not one operations person, like multiple operations people. That's just an aside. But anyway,
Can I jump in
so
here, Kira, before we keep going on? Because this is
yeah.
very let's go up one slide actually to 7 there.
Yeah.
Because this is all fascinating. I think this is like it depends on where people are in their journey in this call, because this is going to be very relevant to some people, less so to others. But I'm actually curious for you, Kira, like when you're going, because this is basically about financing and getting investors and presenting things as an ecosystem in order to fund an ecosystem for regenerative development, correct? Um, so within that, like when you're thinking about going to an investor, this is huge. Like what we're talking about is enormous, because we're talking about everything from agriculture to building to businesses to schools, all of it. And that's insane to go to an investor with. What kind of what do you think is the most important? Like when you're thinking about getting like things together or getting a team together to go to investors, like what of this seems like the most important to you?
I mean, I really think it's definitely going with, just demand validation first.
Mm,
So getting those initial agreements, the LOIs and the pre-sales and stuff, like you don't have to have the full PPA, like, like power purchase agreement ready or like binding agreements yet.
yeah.
But yeah, you do really need to get at least like at minimum LOIs, so letters of intent, which are non-binding. And actually, we're going to go into all those documents more as well in
Cool.
another slide.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
like generating demand and getting a team together that can like, so you're creating models of the regenerative development and you're getting people like, yes, I would live there or I'd move my business there. Is basically kind of like these letters of intent. I also think like inside of that, you mentioned this before, is like a couple strategic partners. Um, like especially with businesses. Is there a type of like
Mhm.
business or a kind of strategic partner that you would go after first? Um, that would seem like the most relevant to some kind of like regenerative ecosystem.
Well, I really think like kind of like what I mentioned earlier was an anchor business.
Mm,
So it can be a business that is really well established, well known. It's a business that always is going to be generating, like they already have demonstrated demand.
mhm.
So that anchor business, and that'll depend on, it really will depend on your regenerative development, what you guys decide. And especially that's why it's really important to do the 100 different revenue stream
Yeah.
like challenge, so that you guys can really challenge yourselves. And then once you boil that down, then you say, okay, who are the top people in these industries that we feel meet the requirements of, one of the four requirements we had up earlier, where it's going to be sustainable, it's going to lower the cost, it creates perpetual
Mm,
revenue, it helps facilitate the community. One of those four things, And if it does that, then you guys have like probably your first like target. You're gonna like go for that company and you're gonna try to get them with a sniper rifle. You want to get them to agree. But in order to do that, you guys have to have the systems, the operations, the teams, the documentation, everything really, really well organized. And actually that's something that right now I'm actually doing that. I'm helping a company, Zach's here, from Reimagined Branch, get those systems in place. It's almost like an operation system that operates or very much like a law firm. It's like that level of like um like operations. It's very structured, and it'll allow for you and your company to stay super organized. So team building is something I haven't mentioned in this. I don't mention it in this presentation, or I haven't mentioned it in the past.
Yeah.
But team building, as I'm sure you guys know, is like number one. Team building is just as important as building out the operations of your business, which is the foundation of your business, and then also building out like what partners you're choosing and getting all the documents that you need for all that.
Lucky for everyone in here is those are the first 3 episodes of the Retribalize Academy, because it's the people problem. If we have great teams with people that are filling specific roles within this map, like the ecosystem is, I mean, that's the original ecosystem. It's your team. And who's with you. And the beautiful thing is what, there's 16 people in this call right now. I think everyone's looking for teammates. So there we go. Let's continue. Thank you, Kira.
That's great.
Yeah,
you're welcome. That was a good aside. So now we're gonna move on to from interest to binding commitments. Not all expressions of interest carry the same weight. For financing purposes, what matters is quality, specificity, credibility, and enforceability of the commitment. At the earliest level, we have evidence of interest. So it's like an LOI. That's non-binding. But then we have a survey which captures like a stated preferences across a broader group, and it can test market demand, pricing, services, or likely participation, but the responsibilities are still hypothetical. Then we have an inquiry, which is more concrete because it's an identifiable person or organization which has actively requested information, pricing, availability, next steps. And then a wait list, which goes further in a way by identifying people who want access when the offering becomes available. So a qualified waitlist is more useful when it records budget, timing, unit type, location, or eligibility. But unless there is a deposit or contractual obligation, it's still not a commitment. So the next level of evidence is intent. Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, usually records shared objectives, proposed roles, and intention to collaborate. And then again, a letter of intent, or LOI, is usually more transaction specific. It may identify proposed space, pricing, investment timeline, services, lease terms, or an operating relationship. But the title alone does not determine whether an MOU or LOI is binding. Many are largely non-binding, while selected provisions such as confidentiality, exclusivity, or access to information may be binding. So the next level is conditional commitment. So that's a reservation agreement, which may hold a home, a unit, a site, membership, or service opportunity. Its strength depends on whether there is a deposit, whether the deposit is refundable, how long the reservation lasts, and how easily the party can withdraw. A term sheet next summarizes the main commercial terms expected in a later definitive agreement, such as pricing, ownership, lease terms, investment, revenue sharing, milestone, or even closing conditions. And then a conditional lease or purchase agreement, PPA is another way to put it, is stronger because it begins to define actual obligations, but the commitment may still depend on financing, permitting, construction completion, approvals, or other milestones. And then the next level, of course, is a binding contract, which examples are: a lease creates enforceable occupancy and payment obligations. A purchase agreement, again, defines what is being purchased, at what price and what quantity and under what conditions. An operating or management agreement defines who will operate the asset, what performance standards apply, how decisions are made, and how costs and revenue are allocated. A service contract defines the services that will be provided, the pricing, performance requirements, duration. And then for water, energy, agriculture, manufacturing, and circular systems, there's an additional category that is especially important, which is a binding revenue or supply contract. So that is like, again, it's a power purchasing agreement, or it could be a water purchase or water use agreement. So like who will purchase the water and what volume, at what quantity, at what price, and under what delivery conditions. And then an offtake agreement, which is another really important one, which commits a buyer to purchase a defined amount or portion of future production. So say you're producing, something like biofuel or biochar or compost or hydrogen, energy, produce, whatever, or construction materials even. That is when you need an offtake agreement. And then a feedstock or long-term supply agreement secures the inputs needed to keep the facility operating, such as food waste, agricultural residue, used cooking oil, biomass, or construction waste. So the feedstock actually, I should have said that one first, because that's kind of like the inputs, the different materials that you need for a specific business. Like you're using compost to make good soil, right? That's your feedstock, that's the input. And then the offtake is the product. So that's the product that you're producing and selling. So yeah, these kind of contracts can be especially important because they answer two of the most important underwriting questions: is who will buy the output, and will the project have enough reliable input to operate? So for investors and lenders, the important question is not simply, do you have an LOI or do you have a wait list? It is also this, which is important: who is committing, what exactly are they committing to, how much volume, space, money, product, or service is involved, for how long, at what price, what conditions must be satisfied, and can the party withdraw? Is there a deposit, like a penalty, a minimum purchase requirement, or performance obligation? So what remedies exist if either party failed to perform, for instance? And does the counterparty have the financial and operational capacity to honor that commitment? So you got to have that capacity if you're going to have these agreements, right? So the progression is not like, merely from the idea of the LOI. It's interest, identified intent, conditional commitment, binding occupancy, operating or serviceable obligations, and then finally, where relevant, to contracted revenue or supply. So the progression is what turns demand into evidence that can support underwriting. Yeah, and the name of the document matters a little less than the specificity of the terms and the strength of the counterparty and the enforceability of the obligation.
This is interesting. Just to recap for everyone from the last episode or presentation, if they weren't there, is when you're approaching investors, the main thing is you're trying to minimize risk for the investor, or you're trying to de-risk the investment. And when you're trying to de-risk the investment, the number one thing you can do is present demand. And by presenting demand, this is presenting wait lists, LOIs, this is presenting leases, everything she just described there. I never really thought of presenting demand in a way of these deeper business, I guess, like supply relationships you're kind of speaking of as well. So yeah. I think that's a fascinating frame that not a lot of people think in terms of, is like, how can we generate demand for something and then prove demand for something? By doing those two things, you can go to investors with a lot more street cred. Awesome.
Yeah, that's why we're spending some time on these today, because these agreements are really important. And it's good to hear them first and feel like you're like this word is something your brain has heard before, So like I might be repeating a few like here and there, but it's to reinforce that in your mind, because the next slide is all about more agreements but these are like agreements that protect the project delivery. So
Is
yeah,
this
that would
is
stay
this
as
like
well.
law, Kira? What would you describe like what you're putting together here? Like, because you're speaking a lot about agreements, contracts, ecosystems. Uh, like what would you describe this as? Is this like operations? Is this the law side of things? Like what you're putting together here? Project management,
Yeah,
maybe?
it's not Yeah, it's not really I mean it's a kind of a combination of them.
Mm,
But really this is kind of a roadmap for how to uh not only just like search for the revenue streams that you want, but then how to make sure that you can secure those revenue streams. You
mm.
know, and from a practical operations and business standpoint. So this is kind of actually business development is like one of the main things I do. This is like business development for your revenue streams and for your ecosystem and like how to solidify that.
Yeah. I I do just want to interject something here, Kira. I'm looking at these. Um, I don't think we need to go through every single type
Yeah,
of agreement here. Maybe like the top three that you think are relevant. Just because I think this
yeah,
gets into a lot of nuances that might not be relevant to everyone here. Um,
yeah, I agree. I was thinking I wasn't necessarily going to read all of these,
cool.
but yeah, just list them off.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we just read a bunch.
yeah,
But yeah, so these are, you know, oops, I went to the
yeah.
wrong slide.
There we go.
Yeah. So yeah, so there's site control agreements. So this is more on the side of like development. So these are the type of agreements that you're going to need for to you know develop the land in part and like connect your infrastructure. You know, what's your like your EPC, which is going to be like you know, your design build contract. So what's your construction scope? And you know, things like that. So, and then all of this is kind of like operations and more infrastructure. Um, yeah, so that's a good little reference table. But yeah, these ones, the ones that we read up there are really important. Like your offtake, your feedstock, all that stuff that we went over in depth. And then so then for slide 10, this will be like what makes capital enter. So I've covered like capital stack in more detail elsewhere in like my other presentation. But the important point here is to not simply list like the different sources of money. What the important part is like what must be proven before each source of capital is willing to enter. So,
Mhm.
you know, that's like, of course, there's going to be different forms of capital, accept different levels of risk. Um, and you guys are familiar with these different types. So this is like a good little reference table.
I
And I
think
think
can we
the
go to
main
grants
point
real
here
quick?
though,
Can we talk about grants real quick? Because
yeah,
this is something I'm not too familiar with. You're probably more. I think grants is a great opportunity for people who are starting like farms, regenerative farms, especially regenerative developments, because you can frame these things as a public good. Is that something you're kind of interested in? Is like grants and philanthropy? Is that a route that you find viable, or are you going more so like capital from investor networks?
I think that's a great question because I actually think that, like, for instance, some communities that I'm aware of, they want to do a mix of that. And actually,
Mm,
I think all the communities that I'm currently involved in, they have like a nonprofit branch,
mm,
and they have so they have like both. You know, they have
yeah.
a for-profit and a nonprofit branch, and then they're most likely going to be working with, you know, different philanthropic organizations like for women or what's the other one that they're doing like oh yeah they're doing a lot of like scientific research which is
Hmm.
awesome and they're you know using that their nonprofit and their philanthropic arm to be able or to connect to their for-profit to fund the nonprofit and do the research you know whether it be you know mycology or you know, soil science or any of those things that they want to fund. So I think actually, yeah. So and this is also important, like depending on which revenue streams you choose, right? Because that's, you know, or like what business models that you're going to have, like your legal structure, like I was saying with
Mm.
nonprofits. So yeah, you can definitely have both. This
Yeah.
is the main takeaway.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the end of the presentation. You know, the main point is like become the platform. The future, like a future developer doesn't need to build and operate every business. The more valuable role is creating the platforms. That means establishing the vision, designing systems, setting the standards, selecting the right partners, structuring the agreements, and coordinating the relationships that allow the ecosystem to function. And remember, like the goal isn't complexity for its own sake. Is to create a place where the right businesses, institutions, operators, and infrastructure systems reinforce one another and become more successful because they are part of the same community. So in other words, a developer creates the conditions for exceptional operators, institutions, businesses, and systems to succeed together. So that's what they're doing. You're creating the conditions. I think you even literally said that earlier. And so don't try to build 100 companies, just build the place where 100 exceptional companies and organizations want to exist. That is how regenerative development moves beyond building neighborhoods and begins creating durable economic ecosystems.
Or build one of those companies that want to exist
That's it.
within the ecosystem. But thank you, Kira. This is amazing.
Yes.
Yes, I really love your presentations, and it zooms it out to a perspective that I often don't think in this because I'm so focused on boots on the ground. Like what's my next thing I need to do? So this is a great presentation. It's almost showing us that the glue like between people, institutions, companies, like the glue itself, if we can become clear on what those agreements look like, how to present those, and how
Yeah.
to actually get letters of intent or real commitment and real partnerships, like that glue itself is extremely powerful to investors and to building these ecosystems. It seems to be what you kind of specialize in, Kira, is how do we create those agreements and partnerships that are going to create that ecosystem?
Yeah, I jump in here because I created a, or is the presentation still going on?
Yeah, Ben, could you just wait and then raise your
Okay,
hand
okay,
and we'll
I'll
open
wait
up
1 second.
we'll open up
Yeah,
Q&A and dive in. I was just
Okay.
curious if there's any final thoughts from Kira based on what I just said.
Well, I'm sorry, I got thrown off a little
Yeah.
bit. What I do, yes. Okay, so, well, yeah, I think partnerships are one of my strong suits. I think B2B is definitely a strong suit. Just a lot of business development is B2B.
Mm.
But I am a little bit like I do have a lot of skills. I know that doesn't sound very humble, but I do have a lot of skills as well, like in operations and foundations for like technical writing and all these documents and getting everything together, which and also team building and finding good team members,
Mm-hmm.
because that's also kind of like B2B, right? It's
Yep.
like you're finding like the best people, and I love that. Like I'm a people person, and I want to connect with people. I want to connect with businesses. I love business, and I think, sorry, there's a fly got in, but like I love businesses and people, and I love when we can work together collaboratively, and I like making sure that the legal structure and the operational structure are set up right, because if you don't do that, like the legal foundations and the documentation as well and the operational structure, all those things together, if you don't have those foundations, the partners that you want to partner with, they will not partner with you. They will not trust you. You do need lawyers. You need like a solid legal, at least one lawyer to start with for a legal team, to make sure that those documents are commercially reasonable is one important part. So that they see the document and they're like, oh, this isn't unreasonable. I can sign this. They can send it through AI and be like, does this make sense? Is this reasonable? Are they asking for too much? And with AI these days, people can't get away with that. You really have to have like a trustworthy legal document, or even if it's non-binding legally, it needs to be structured in a way that people will want to sign it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Kira. Thanks for this presentation. It was great. I learned quite a bit. I want to open up Q&A for people who have questions, and let's just be conscientious of time here. We have about 15-20 minutes to get through some Q&A, so I'll call on some people, and Kira and I will try to field questions in a little conversation here best we can. Yeah, if we want to go to Ben.
Well, yeah, the whole presentation had me on the edge of my seat because, like, just literally a week ago, I created a website that, like, facilitates all of this. Like, it creates the agreement, actually. But I don't have, like, a lawyer background, so I don't know how good it is. So one of the questions would be just, like, what are some of the main things you want to make sure to have in the agreement? And also, do you think it would be better to have multiple agreements, like, as you were saying?
Actually, I love that. I love that you're trying to make templates for developments. I think that's really wonderful. And so I would actually recommend that you get in contact with the legal company that I'm using right now. They exist to help founders, and they're called Green Spoon Mortar. And they're based out of New York, I believe. And they have been really helpful with providing me an amazing lawyer that is helping me with all these agreements and making sure that they're commercially viable, not just reasonable. Because you have to have a lawyer to look it over. You cannot just, I mean,
Yeah, I know.
people do it.
I know the one that the AI spit out isn't like legit. It's just to get the ball rolling, but
Yeah.
but that's what I'm curious about. Like, what do you think is the best way to like make it legit?
I think she said,
Yeah,
yeah.
so Greenspan
Yeah.
Water, they have,
What was it? Can you type the name in the chat?
yeah, I hope I spelled it right.
That's super helpful for me. I need to get that'll be helpful in the future for me for sure.
Yeah, legal firm for founders. With they have a lot of resources, a lot of they have, yeah, a lot of resources. They actually just updated a lot of their resources too. So they're always adding to their what do you call it in the legal terms? But basically they're adding to all the documents that they have available all the time, improving on those, and they can provide templates. And if like you say, hey, this is like my business, they would probably like love to connect on that. And I mean, I'm not sure, like I can't say for certain, maybe that wouldn't be like the way that legal firms operate, like, hey, have my templates so you can resell them. That may not be the way it works. But you can, at least you can ask, and you can even just come at it from the point of view of like, well, I want to do this myself and I need all these templates, and what are your usage rights for sharing these, or what would I be able to do legally with these templates once I've had them customized like for generative developments.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, it looks like your website's listed on your tag there, on your name tag for people who want to check it out. I just looked at it.
Yeah, I changed it from Ben's iPhone last time.
Cool.
I think this is more descriptive.
Yeah. Awesome. Anyone else have any comments, questions, thoughts here? I'll go check the chat as well.
I mean, I do. I'm just patiently waiting for others.
Yeah.
But I love this, and so I would love to talk to you more, because I know this is a very public perspective. And for those of us who understand public versus private, there are a few of us that I have met within Retribalize who are trying to go more of that private side. So I'm wondering where some of that knowledge, I guess, crosses over. I mean, obviously, like, contract is king, right? I mean, and when you really break it down, contract is everything, because that's what the Constitution is. That's what the licensure is. That's what that's what it all is. It's all contract law. So yes, contract is absolutely foundational, and that's one of the things that I'm really trying to figure out for myself and for others collectively of, yeah, how do we still hold that value of being in the private, and but still, like, I would be interested in a grant, like, for different things. I have seen like some, not very many. I worked for nonprofit for a little blip, and I kind of got into some of that, and so I know just like that much about it. But I would love to know more, because I think some of that, yeah, I realize there are sources out there, and I would love to tap into some of that, because it's more than just creating a community for me. If I can create this community of abundance, and I don't know if you've heard of like Joel Salatin, but he essentially like considers himself like an incubator. I've got the land, I've got the animals, I've got the tools, I've got the resources. You want to make me an offer on what you think you could do here with that? Like, I think that's a wonderful kind of a thing of like, I've got this. What can you do with it? What can you create from it? Because I don't want to do it all. So yeah, I'd be more curious on that in the future of kind of some of the crossovers with public and private. And
Yeah, that's a good question. I think basically what you're asking is a couple things, but where the private and public crossover, and actually the reality is that most successful developments, they do both. They do a blend of both private and public. And also they really plan and prepare. So I think that's like part of what the second thing of what you were asking is, you have to be fully, like, in my view, it's not the best to just be like, okay, I built it, now everybody come to me and do whatever you want. That's not my style maybe, but I also just think in general, like in business, the failure to plan and prepare is usually what ends up in failure in general. And so the more you can, even though there are some things where you don't want to plan, you just want to do stuff. I think in business, you really have to plan and prepare. So much of business is upfront, like not making any money, just planning and preparing on paper, writing your technical documents, organizing your operations structure so that you don't fail because you didn't plan, because you failed to plan and prepare,
Yeah.
that will lead to failure.
On that
Yeah.
note, I'm putting in weeks on this summit, writing it, putting it all together, talking to people, getting videos, getting speakers. So much goes into these little things that people come to and they're like, oh, there's a 2-hour presentation. And I'm sure Kira put in hours into this presentation alone as well. And maybe days. So I think that's key, is finding great opportunities and then absolutely executing your best on those, whatever opportunities in front of us right now. And then those just lead to bigger opportunities.
Totally.
Awesome. Let's go to LAD, LAD. I don't know if that's an acronym, but
Yeah. Hey, can you hear me okay? I know my
yeah,
voice is a little hoarse. Okay,
yeah.
great. Thanks. My video's not working. I'm new to Retribalize. I'm sorry about that. And I basically am connecting with all of you because this has been my life's journey. Basically, what I do is I buy, build, and restore farms and lands and ranches and turn them over to young farmers and find funding and grants. So I'm basically, in my last decade of doing this, and someone told me about you folks, so I basically wanted to jump in. I helped start an incredible organization called Weave Women's Economic Ventures, where we teach people how to write business plans and find funding. And so it seems like there's a lot of very interesting people on here with many different skill sets and many different desires and many different ideas of how to join in and connect and retribalize, whatever that means for each individual. So I'm just here to offer my skills and resources, but I don't really know where to jump in. So thank you. And thank you, Kira. Very in-depth presentation for those that have already walked the path of finding something and wanted to start a business. So we appreciate that.
Amazing, lad. Thanks for introducing yourself. And we're super happy to have you. I think this is the best way to get involved and jump in, is like coming to these calls and connecting. And then also like like, especially with your background, like I would love to have you on, like Kira's co-presenting this call. I love having people co-present their projects and opportunities that they're building. And I mean, while we're on this note, just 1 minute here, you said you've been acquiring farms and helping younger farmers or younger families get started. Could you explain more about what you've been doing?
So let's see, I've been farming and ranching organically and regeneratively for 50 years. And so basically, we find an incredible piece of property in a community, and then I buy it basically or get funding for it. And then we restore the land, fencing, housing, all of that, and then start the income streams, whether they're greenhouse production all year round or field crops in production. Also, I've been very involved with multi-species rotational grazing. I'm an expert with the Savory Institute for holistic pasture and livestock management. So basically, we put these businesses together so that people can get a join in and a start in agriculture because most people can't and don't want to do it alone. Like most people don't even know where to start with integrated pest management or soil health or what grows in this climate or whatever. So basically, we start the programs out with intern programs and employee programs, and then eventually move these projects into people being able to take over aspects of the farms, which basically creates a small community within a land set or a housing set.
I mean, this is amazing, lad. I'm super happy to meet you. I mean, it's very in line with Retribalize. Is our entire goal here is to help people find teams and build build their communities around a distinct ethos, and then go create these kind of regenerative systems, land projects, things of this nature. I think everyone's at a different starting point, so I'm kind of here trying to man the first starting point for people, which is finding each other, exchanging ideas, building teams, and then taking action together. And it sounds like you have a really interesting endpoint that a lot of people might, or some people might be able to link into. So I'm sure you have a world of experience and wisdom to share with us. So I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, and I apologize. I'll fix my LAD. So my name is Lori Ann, and the last name is David. And our
Ah,
current huge project is Aurora Farms in Friday Harbor, Washington on San Juan Island. But we have
cool,
others in other places. But I just joined. I'll get in there and I'll fix my, you know,
cool.
profile and all of that. But this is my first call, so thank you. Nice to meet everyone.
Nice to meet you, lad. And yes, we can be in touch and perhaps have you present on some of your projects in the future here. Also, we'll have Zach present at some point. He's got a really cool project, Reimagine Ranch, going on. And many projects. I mean, Luis Novo got a great Sayulito place in Mexico. Blake is working on a land project in Utah and Colorado. Yeah, so many amazing different projects happening here right now. So let's go to Michelle.
Oh, can I say one thing?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, was it Lori? Um, but anyway, what she was just talking about with the business plans. I think it would be wonderful too to see if she would be open to presenting, or if you would be open to presenting about like how to build a business plan, because that's something I could also do. But I think it would be great to have somebody who does that all the time for businesses, to show like, hey, this is specifically a structure for a business plan for regenerative development, and here's an example, here's a template, or anything like that, if she would be willing to provide that.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. I'll reach out to her and Lorianne, was it? I think she said her name was. That would be great. Yeah, I would love to see what kind of what you would like to share with this group. I think a business plan would be great. It's funny. I'm always someone who moves and then responds to what happens rather than plans a whole bunch. So this would be great for me too. Let's get a business plan. Uh, awesome. Let's go to Michelle.
Yes. Thanks, Kristen. Kara, I loved your presentation. I do hope that you share it. I've been taking a lot of notes and stuff. I'm launching the Camp Collective, which is an adult camp where you get to be kids, and it's bigger than that. But I'm in the process of pulling together a business plan and all of your like so my background is I'm a CA, angel investor. I work with tech startups and help them with business planning and fundraising, etc. My project is very complex, and so I know that I need people around me, which is why I've just joined Retribalize. So this is my first meeting, and so the legal contracts and the financial stacking and just having everything all together is brilliant. It's just so incredibly helpful. So I just want to say thank you so much. I appreciate that. I would love assistance in um, pulling together the strategy and the tactics because my project is very large, and so there's a bit of a chicken and the egg. Where do you start? Um, in terms of there's long term, short term, and that's just the challenge of the entrepreneurial journey. So yeah, thank you.
Definitely. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everybody. And I want to also, I forgot to share my Connect pages. So I requested to share again. I don't know if you guys can see my Canva again. Yep. So there's this, and then also I'll share the presentation as well. I've got a public view link. And then here's how to connect with me as well. Yeah, let's add this link to the chat so you guys can also have this presentation. And if you guys want past presentations and the links to those are on my YouTube, Art Science Wonder. You'll find me just by searching that on like the first or the second one on YouTube, and I'm on LinkedIn and Substack. So, but most of my presentations and things will be on YouTube if you guys want to reference these. And please connect with me, Michelle, on LinkedIn, Marie Nightingale. I think I'm the only one on the entire platform with that name, so you'll find me.
Nice.
And I'm excited to connect with anyone else who's also on LinkedIn. That's primarily where I connect, and also email. So
Awesome.
but let's start with
Yes.
please.
Well, thank you so much, Kira. And yes, I think you and Michelle should definitely meet. When I talked to Michelle the other day, I thought of Kira instantly as someone that should be connected there. So looking forward to that connection. I do see we're at time. I want to get to Evan's question, but Kira, I don't want to hold you hostage if you have another thing to go to.
No, a little longer if you guys want.
Yeah, let's go to Evan, who has his hand up.
Awesome. Yeah, I would like to circle back to when we were talking about demand. And I'm curious, like, besides getting surveys, waitlists, or LOIs, that seems pretty intuitive to me of proving to investors that there's a need for a specific item. But I'm wondering, you mentioned like creating and proving demand. So is that talking towards like creating a new project or creating a new niche that people might be interested in? And then also sort of related to that, would you include like market metrics in that demand, proving a demand?
Yeah, I think I can answer your question correctly. I'm not sure I fully understood, but I think what you're asking is, are there other ways to create or show demand?
Yeah.
So other than LOIs, and waitlist, you can actually do pre-sales. Pre-sales are a good way if you already have homes and you're already building an awesome community. There's a great community in Austin called where the website is sanctuary.co. And I visited the site myself, and they already are building homes and everything, so they can do pre-sales. But you can also do things like reservations, and enrollment commitments and things like that, where just any type of commitment that somebody would be willing to make. So it could be like, the actual residents, or it could be businesses. And that's why you guys have this presentation. Like, definitely save it, because you know, it has those matrices that you can reference, those tables with the different types of agreements that you can get. And you know, like I said this in the last presentation, I don't know if you were there, but either way, it's a good reminder. You don't have to do everything like by building in public. Like that is one way that people do, and I think that's a really great way if you're operationally capable and you have the personality for that. But if not, a lot of developers do things in private. So they don't mind, you know, just going on LinkedIn, for instance, and finding a business that they really want as part of their community and messaging them and showing them that like the proof, the evidence, like and the professionalism that they can actually trust you as an operator or as a development or business, and that they will be able to, you know, either franchise with you or joint venture with you or any of the different types of ways that you can partner. And kind of already have that, again, planning and preparation is everything. So, I mean, yeah, definitely get as detailed as you can, put all those numbers that you can, plan and prepare, because the thing with, you know, highly functioning businesses or even people, investors, is you got to be prepared when you speak to them or you reach out to them, because if you're not prepared, you will lose that opportunity. And they could be the number one company or investor or whatever firm, you know, that you are interested in working with, and you can totally blow it. So just plan and prepare as much as you can. Another really good resource for you guys is this what's it called? It's like a community, but not the type of community that it's like an online mentorship and access program. So you can get multiple mentors from any industry to help you if you're trying to connect with a specific industry that you want as part of your development, to be able to prepare for that. And you can go find a mentor on them on this platform called Gildray. I just typed it in there. I don't know if it's .com or what, but Gildray for mentors is really a really good resource if you can afford the monthly cost, which is actually pretty decent. I think it's like $150 to $200 a month, which is still kind of steep for a lot of people. But once you do have the ability to pay for a service like that, just being able to instantly get advice from some of the top people in different industries is so valuable. And a lot of them want to give back. That's why they're on that platform. They want to give advice. And a lot of time they can also help you connect with investors. So mentorship programs are great. It's kind of a warm lead to investors or investment or capital in general, because once you develop a relationship with a mentor in that specific commercial industry, then they will be more likely to even recommend you to capital sources, because they now trust you, because you now know what they know, and they've seen you like work hard towards the goal and continue to make progress. So if they see those things, they will be much more likely to actually introduce you to capital.
Well, thank you, Kira. Thanks everyone for attending today's call. I think this is extremely valuable, and I like your insights on how to connect with people in the private realm, and not just have to do everything in public. So I hope everyone learned something from this and has a takeaway. In terms of moving forward with the Academy, is every Monday is a little bit different. Today was Kira's day, so thank you, Kira. I'll see you next time. And she has, I think, one more presentation for us in the coming weeks. And then next week, we're going to return to our discussions on content marketing and team building, which is my favorite thing to discuss. And also, we have a really successful case study coming out of the Retribalize Academy of Sam, who's here at this residency that we're running right now. And Sam, through our app alone, has discovered a place in Italy, a 10-bedroom house to go to. He has sold multiple tickets to it just through the app and just through the connections. of people who want to go to that co-living house and residency with him. And he's doing exactly what I'm doing. And he started and is doing this in less than 1 month. So it's absolutely insane of the amount of demand that people have for finding like-minded people, bring them into physical location and building amazing things with them. So yeah, like literally in 2 weeks, he's changed his entire life. Now he's going to be living in villas in Italy and getting paid to do it. So there's such cool opportunities out here right now. So we're going to be talking more about that next week. So come back every Monday to this call. Thank you, Kira, for your presentation. I'll see you guys.
You're welcome. Bye.